We all want to save more money. Stay tuned. We've got some more tips for you.
This episode of the Dollar Saving Divas podcast is brought to you by renttherunway.com.
You'll find more than 200,000 pieces and 400 designers in the Rent the Runway closet. For any event you might be attending, formal, cocktail, or festive, you can get 4 or 8 day designer rentals for a fraction of the price. Anything you want, one flat price.
And when you click the link on our Dollar Saving Divas Facebook page, you'll save even more and help keep this podcast free.
Look great and save money too at renttherunway.com. We love saving money.
We adore saving money. It's our favorite thing to do. Why do you think we're called the Dollar Saving Divas?
Exactly. So here are some more tips for your home to save money. So the first thing, which, I thought about this, and I know a lot of people think about it, but don't actually do it, is looking into solar power for your home. You can get, the prices have dropped over the past years. So, if you're really into it, you can install those solar panels on your rooftop. It defrays your electricity costs, shrinks your home's carbon footprint, which is better for the earth, and you can get a federal tax credit for installing that.
Well, I think those are all great things. And I've seen actually a recent trip to Florida. They were building new homes, and almost all of them have solar panels now.
Yeah.
Which obviously, when you're in the sunshine state,
it makes more sense when you have more sun. But you can benefit either way, though. Even here,
even here, where it's 265 days cloudy.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, another thing you can do is if you have to. Is to make a video of your valuables.
A valuable video.
A valuable video. Well, and it is because if you've ever had any kind of a household disaster like a fire, a flood, or just somebody came in and broke into your house and just stole a bunch of stuff, is you have to have some kind of a detailed inventory of all those belongings. Well, a lot of people aren't going to sit down and write all that stuff out. The best thing you can do is just go around with a video camera, and you can
or
be
a phone or an iPad.
Well, any of those. But then you actually talk while you're taping them and say, this is an antique wall cupboard, and
that's a great idea.
Yes, and also I don't know if you can then, once you have it, you need to put it in a secure place, like a safety deposit box, or in our case, we have a safe, actually, the fireproof safe, and that's where we put all those kinds of things, plus your really important papers. So I would highly recommend, doing that kind of a thing.
Great idea.
And getting a safe. The things that you need to do is that's when certain things are, covered by your insurance, but then things are like on top of them, you only have a maximum. So sometimes you need to invest in riders. And then after, so many years, like gold prices have dramatically gone up again. So if you've got a lot of your jewelry, which you need to look at, you might need to go in and have them reappraised and then have that reflected in whatever riders or your insurance is, because it's dramatically changed over the last 10 years and you want to make sure you get that replacement value.
Right.
So those are some important things too. Another thing you can do, and I've never done this, but I do know after a while, windows in your house can have some leaks with them. Well, they say the first thing you can do is you turn on every exhaust fan in your house. That means the whole house fan, your kitchen range, anything else you've got. And then you get some incense. Do you happen to have any little incense stick anywhere around in the house?
Of course I do.
Of course you do. I knew you would. Perhaps you should be doing this one. Well, then what you do is then you, while all these fans are going, you actually go around and at the windows and the doors and even electrical outlets. And if the smoke blows sideways, then you have a leak. I thought that was very interesting.
Clever.
And then you can either caulk or weather strip, or in some cases, if you have a lot of leaking of like your windows, you actually need to replace them. So I thought that was very clever. So everybody in our neighborhood, I'm going to tell them, I'm going to put it out in the association. Let's all test for leaks. Everybody burn some incense, and then,
get your sage and do a smudging ceremony.
Okay, I don't know what's up with us today, but we are just out of control.
Well, you mentioned about the insurance on your valuables and getting the rider on your policy. But one other thing with your homeowner's insurance is don't forget to shop around every so often. I think sometimes we get our insurance when we buy our house and we never check it again.
That's true.
But every few years, you should shop around, see if you can get a better deal somewhere else. You might be able to get a lower premium.
Well, and that's just kind of like what we were talking about with the valuables and things. You've got to redo everything. And there might be some things that you don't even own anymore, but you've got them covered.
You're still insuring
and
them.
You're still paying for them.
Right.
Exactly. Well, a couple of other things that you can also do, which is something that we did, is put in a programmable thermostat, which when we had our heater replaced in our air conditioning unit, we did it. And we actually did it with Honeywell, which is one of the best recommended ones for just the programmable thermostat. And they only run about $300. But that's very, very very cost effective. We've actually seen that. And you keep everything at basically one temperature because that way you don't go in if you're a little warm, you don't go in and you jack things down and throw them up. That is not going to save you any money. You just need to set those programmable things and they automatically do it. So,
instead of walking by and changing it every time like we do at our house.
I don't touch it because then I'm always
with a big lockbox over it like they do in businesses.
Exactly.
You can't get to it.
It's in my house, I don't touch it because if I would touch it, I would get yelled at. So I always blame it on somebody else because I do not touch that thermostat.
I don't know how that got like that. Well, if your water heater is more than a dozen years old, you might want to upgrade that. You could go, those high efficiency models could pay off in a few years. And they're saying your annual savings for a family of four could be $330 to upgrade to one of those high efficiency. So you could get your money back on that, which is something I need to do.
Get your money back on?
Well, I need to upgrade my water heater. I'm like, every time I go down the basement, I look at it, I'm like, oh, you don't have much time left, do you?
What are your favorite lines is, oh, pumpkin. You're all tired.
To happen right there. I should
You're all
take care of that.
out. Poor little pumpkin.
I keep moving things farther and farther away from it, waiting for the inevitable.
Okay, well, let me just give you an expert tip. And it's not necessarily about saving money, but it's how actually that you could make more money. And if you're going to have a yard sale, and like in our neighborhood, we have one once a year, the whole neighborhood has it. And that way, you can clear out, or as I call it, purge.
Oh, yeah, I love
all
purging.
And then you can make some money, which is tax-free because, it's just some quick cash. Did I just say that? Yeah, I think I did. First thing that you do is several weeks before the yard sale, you start posting photos on social media, teasing about the most enticing items that you might have, which I never really even thought about that. But, here we are. Everything's all about social media.
I know.
And then this is another tip, which I thought was kind of interesting. Rather than you setting the prices, which is kind of good because it takes hours and hours to put those little
I would rather have a root canal than do a yard sale. I just hate that.
I've never had one. Well, what I've done,
I won't do it. I will donate stuff to somebody else to do
exactly.
a yard sale. But
well, what some people do is they'll say they'll do it, and I would say, okay, fine, here, take all my stuff, and they'll mark it with like a different color that's yours, and then I give them a percentage of it because I don't want to have to deal with it.
Right,
and really, and then they say instead of you setting the prices, okay, so it save time on all that stuff you'd have to mark. Think like a retailer, and you can boost your average transaction value, and like programs like buy 3 get 1 free. That actually is not a bad idea. Like categories. Maybe you have a whole bunch of books or something like that. The other thing you can do is take credit card payments, which I know you can get those little machines. Square. Yeah, Square, and you can do that. So I thought those are
that's if you're going to do it, if you're going to have a yard sale, it's a better way to do it.
And we're not going to be having a yard sale.
Which we will not be doing. Well, here are a couple quick tips that I love. If you're using a dishwasher, don't wash the dishes before you put them in the dishwasher. You're just wasting water. Put them in dirty. You don't need to wash them before you wash them. So the 5 gallons wasted by rinsing with the faucet is what the dishwasher is going to use anyway. So put them in dirty. The other thing is make sure when you have all your stuff plugged in, what they call vampire power, when you have your phone chargers all plugged in and nothing hooked up to them, you've got all the game systems plugged in. Unplug all of that stuff. Unplug your printers if you're not using them, or put them all on a big power strip so you can just shut off the power strip when you leave.
That's what we usually do is everything's on a power strip, and it makes it much, much easier.
Yeah. Save yourself a little bit of money.
Oh, I think we just saved a lot of money today. This episode of the Dollar Saving Divas podcast is brought to you by renttherunway.com.
You'll find more than 200,000 pieces and 400 designers in the Rent the Runway closet. For any event you might be attending, formal, cocktail, or festive, you can get 4 or 8 day designer rentals for a fraction of the price. Anything you want, one flat price.
And when you click the link on our Dollar Saving Divas Facebook page, you'll save even more and help keep this podcast free.
Look great and save money too at renttherunway.com. Thanks for listening to the Dollar Saving Divas. If you have ideas for an upcoming episode, we'd love to hear from you. Just head to our Facebook page at facebook.com/DollarSavingDivasCBus and share your comments. Our podcast is available on iTunes, iHeartMedia, or your favorite podcast player. Thanks again for listening.
This is Ashley.
And this is Trevor.
And this is Trevor from Elite One Fitness.
And this is Brett. In each week's Today's Health and Wellness podcast, we spotlight health and wellness stories you'll find in the Central Ohio Health and Wellness magazine, on Today's Health and web pages and social media, as well as extras you'll only hear in the weekly podcasts.
And each month, Trevor and I bust some gym and health myths to help motivate you to become stronger and healthier.
Oh yeah, you know it. The Today's Health and Wellness podcast is a joint effort of the Central Ohio Health and Wellness magazine and Today's Health.
Subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, or your favorite podcast player.
Circle270media.com.